Tom Milhaven on KTRS.
The president has made clear that he will not accept the United States and its allies and partners in the region being under threat from this hostile regime.
That's General McMaster talking about North Korea and the standoff. Matt Gutman, ABC News correspondent, is in Seoul, South Korea. Matt, Vice President Pence this morning out with a new warning towards North Korea. What's the latest?
Pretty much that. I mean, it's a lot of warnings that we've heard, McGraw, but I think you could hear the softening in the tone from the Americans and a lack of what we expected to hear from North Korea, and that is the much-anticipated sixth nuclear test in North Korea. It hasn't happened. It was much widely expected to happen over the weekend, and today a civilian group was monitoring the area. It's called 38 North, and they were taking satellite pictures of the nuclear test site, and they saw people playing volleyball outside. Unclear if that is a distraction or meant to misdirect observers, or if it's just a sign that something's not going to happen. So I think that right now, despite some of the rhetoric, the tension has eased somewhat in the region.
What's the feeling on the streets of Seoul, South Korea? Because they're right there where the missiles can definitely reach. What's the feeling in Seoul, South Korea?
Such a good point, McGraw. I mean, it's not just the missiles here. It's 15,000 artillery pieces and rocket launchers that are trained on this city of 25 million people. But they're so used to it by now that they don't really seem to care that much. I mean, I think they care, but they're not that disturbed by what they're hearing. For them, it's more saber-rattling. They've had 60, 70 years of this, and they don't really think that anything is going to happen right now. What is of a concern is that in Korea, people take Kim Jong-un at his word. If he says he's going to develop thermonuclear weapons and missiles capable of reaching North America, then they believe him because that's the way it works there. And so there is some concern that this continues to escalate. But for the moment, I don't think that that ratcheting up, that intensification of the war of words that we've been seeing is going to actually turn into an active kinetic war. That is what the folks here on the ground say. They've seen it happen so many times before, but clearly the stakes are high, and that's the problem. The stakes are so high that, this is not the kind of place where you can launch a couple of cruise missiles and call it a day. Any sort of military action could result in a nuclear war, and that is really what is so daunting about all of this.
Matt Gutman in Seoul, South Korea. We heard yesterday, after President Trump's threat that he was sending an armada to the peninsula, we find out that the aircraft carrier was going in the opposite direction?
Yeah, it was going to a previously scheduled joint operation with the Australians several thousand miles away, and is now speeding back to the region. Should be here sometime next week. But yeah, President said that an armada was steaming towards the Korean Peninsula. In fact, it was going the other way. We're trying to figure out what happened with that miscommunication. We don't have an answer just yet. But, the aircraft carrier groups are important, but they're not really the most vital part of a possible attack on North Korea. Those are long-range bombers. Those are missiles. Those are fighter planes, all of them based here. So it's not so much of an issue of fighting capability, but kind of perhaps misleading. But, the president also has been softening his tone as well. He's talked not only about, we're going to do anything necessary to stop the North Koreans from obtaining a nuclear weapon, but also saying that he's going to let China take the lead here, and that he hopes that diplomatic and economic pressure can be brought to bear on the North Koreans. So I think that everybody's starting to understand that you can't really bully the North Koreans because they are so unpredictable.
Right.
And that for them, war means absolute war, and they're going to go down fighting.
Matt,
and that's a very scary thing.
Matt, we're going to leave it there. In Seoul, South Korea, Matt Gutman, ABC News. Matt, thanks for checking in.
Thanks, McGraw.
657, Big 550, KTRS. You're looking for some